On 12 February 2021, Camille Roche, Perrin, and Aïda Benali set out to map the l'Ardoise Gallery on France's Vercors plateau. They reached the entrance at 9:35. The air was dry and sharp, just under 3 degrees Celsius. A thin wind hummed along the rock. One step inside, and the cave swallowed their light. Pupils widened. The opening was a narrow mouth. The wall gleamed, as if it were wet glass. They paused for a quick check. Helmets secure, a headlamp with a spare battery, a static rope coiled in a dry bag, a simple ascender-descender on each harness. Safety first. No extra weight. A few meters in, the cold deepened. Breath hung in short clouds. Echo stitched the narrow corridors, then faded. At each bend, the silence returned, fine and sharp as a blade. At first, the floor held. Then seepage spread. Mud became a thin, moving film. Footing felt like soap. Small mistakes grew large. Slate drank the beam and deepened the sense of a maze. The passage folded the body into shapes: shoulder, hip, knee, each in turn reading the rock. Lucas tested a half step, shifting weight little by little.
Gravity's flirting again.
The thought of a fall at the edge of his mind. Camille noted brief marks and washed the lamp's cone across the surfaces in short strokes. Aïda kept her steps small and adapted quickly as the ground changed. After one turn, the flow gathered and the slipperiness doubled. Aïda set her right foot on a narrow ledge. The outer edge slid. Her ankle twisted hard.
Funny thing about gravity, it's always there when you least need it. One graceful turn, a touch of overconfidence, and suddenly the cave decided to demonstrate its own brand of hospitality. Aïda's right foot found what looked like a ledge, emphasis on looked. The outer edge sighed, gave up, and her ankle, well, let's say it performed a modern art piece titled Pain in Motion. Poetic, in a tragic sort of way.
She tipped into the wall and her foot jammed in a shallow groove. Pressure closed in at once. Pain rose fast. Her breathing shortened and broke rhythm. A tight weight spread across her chest. Fear outran thought. Panic followed, like an unseen curtain. Time grew heavy. Lucas reached for the rope system to ease the load. But a small knot error spoiled the angle. The weight did not spread. The line drove down. Pain flared in her ankle. Camille felt along the wall, trying to read the stone by touch and light. The slick film ate finger friction. Every tiny adjustment wrenched the joint again. Cold hardened. Warmth drained from muscle and skin. Endurance thinned. Helplessness widened. Stone-cutting echoes rang, then the hush closed again. They found a window to call for help. Coordinates, depth, and risks went out in plain words to the advisory line. The request was confirmed, and a surface team assembled. Inside, they counted seconds one by one. In the valley, children walked home for lunch.
Yeah, but did anyone check if the Wi-Fi's still working? Look at this. They're calling for help from the bottom of a cave. We're this deep, send rescue, they say. Me, my coordinates are simple. Couch. Depth, under the blanket. They're counting seconds. I'm counting chips. They're measuring breaths in 3s. I'm sipping my coffee in 2s. They call it courage. Please, courage is lowering the AC from 24 to 23.
Up here, the passage stayed dark, narrow, indifferent. They steadied themselves by counting breaths in 3s. Short counts. Simple tasks. Resolve became the sum of small behaviors. Courage shifted from talk to action. Lucas corrected the rope issue and bled off excess tension. Camille traced the stone around the trapped foot with her lamp, breaking motion into millimeters. Aïda moved into the least loaded position, shifted weight in tiny fractions, and set her breathing to a steady rhythm. The dark did not lift, but it could be managed. A little over an hour later, rescuers entered at the mouth of the gallery. They moved on their knees, shoulders braced to the wall. Mud striped their gear. Their motions stayed short, clear, calm.
Ah, here come the heroes. I'd join too, if there were a rescue mission that didn't involve leaving my couch.
First, they removed the needless strain from the line and fixed the knot. Load spread. Pressure eased. Then they turned to the true lock. Just above the groove that held the foot, they found a narrow crack. They placed a microcam. When it seated, the rock took weight in a new direction and the choking force fell back. A second small piece went in along the same line.
Oh, hey, don't mind me, guys. I was just supervising. You know, moral support from the comfort zone. I've been watching your progress. Very impressive. Tight space, zero Wi-Fi, questionable life choices, classic rescue energy. You know, if you'd asked me first, I'd have told you always start with coffee, not a microcam. But what do I know? I'm just the guy who solves problems without moving. Smells like heroism and bad decisions in here. Anyway, carry on. I'll just stay out of the way. Literally, I haven't moved in years.
The stone shifted a millimeter in the mud. Underground, a millimeter is a lot. Hope arrived with it. Aïda's foot slipped free from the tight socket. They wrapped a short bandage around her ankle. Circulation was checked. Warmth returned. Pain dropped to a bearable level. Panic receded. Exit became the plan. They rigged the line section by section. The headlamp searched for dryer holds. The squeeze fell behind them, turn by turn. On small ledges they kept the three-point rule, placing short backups against a slip. Only gear sounds and a softened echo disturbed. They surfaced as the day leaned toward evening. The sky opened wide above the plateau. The cold stayed sharp, but felt lighter beyond the rock. A brief report went up the local line. Times, depths, corrections, short and clean. After the incident, lessons became habits. On muddy flow floors they moved slower. Training expanded to spot soaping early. Sheen, seep, step, stop. Stop, look, proceed, turn standard.
You see, that's why I don't do hiking. Too much ground.
Knot check settled into a 4-point routine. Quick under pressure, firm enough to catch small errors. Microcams and small protection pieces were added to every kit. More thermal blankets went into the emergency bag. The first aid kit gained an ankle splint. Communication was simplified. One clear voice below, one clear voice above. No crosstalk. They reinforced psychological drills. Count the breath, shrink the wave of suffocation, return to rhythm. They relearned how to read wet rock and wall contact. Hands searched for texture beneath the film. Eyes traced faint lines that hinted at safer angles. In tight passages, they practiced body-to-stone alignment in small, deliberate steps. Shoulder turned, hip cleared, knee placed. Not rushed, not frozen.
You see, it's not about escaping the cave. It's about escaping yourself, which is why I never leave my couch. I've already escaped.
The aim was not speed. The aim was clean, repeatable movement with room for error. The cave, of course, did not change. It remained what it had always been, indifferent, wet, cold, sometimes frightening. It offered no comfort and no guarantees. But with determination and a sound plan, Fear could be managed. With clear roles and quiet discipline, panic could be edged back. With a steady lamp and a counted breath, the next safe move could be found. When they spoke later, they did not dwell on drama. They listed adjustments. They trimmed the gear list to what mattered and doubled down on the few things that kept them safe. They drilled knot checks until the steps were almost automatic.
You can almost smell freedom. It smells like mud and regret.
They practiced moving on slick surfaces where a single careless push could start a slide. They rehearsed short, calm messages for stress. What to say, in what order, with what words. They mapped the passage again on paper, noted the seep points, and flagged the sloped entries where mud might thin to a film. They stepped into evening, grateful, steady, silent, alive, wiser, calmer, and warned.
They stepped into the light, silent and wiser. Meanwhile, I survived another episode from the safety of my couch. You know, sometimes wisdom just means knowing where not to go.